I all signed up for the WordPress class, and this week we're going to talk mostly about images and how to include images on your website. If you think about it, most of the things you see on websites are mostly images. Text and images is what most websites are. So when I say the word images, there's several different types of images we'll be looking at. Of course, mostly we'll be looking at plain photos. So if we look at a folder here, my samples that I'm going to be doing, the sample website I'll be doing in this class will be based upon a town. We'll just say Pittsburgh because I have photos of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So last time I was there was last spring, and I have several images here. So as we move forward with the class, I'll be making several sample videos like you see here, and mostly will be around the topic of the city of Pittsburgh. So again, you should be choosing a topic for the class so that you can keep building upon the same topic as we add things like videos, and as we add images, and as we write text, and as we do things like that. You're kind of following the same theme, so make sure you choose kind of a topic. In this case, you'll see these pictures were taken with a Canon camera, which is quite high quality. So if I zoom in, you'll see, there's a lot of detail in there. So there's some issues with that, and what I mean by issues with that is that these pictures are very large. They're a couple megabytes, and when we talk about putting images onto a web page, those images then will take up space on the website, which will then, of course, take time to download. So one of the things about WordPress is that it can take and recompress your image, so it puts it on the website in a smaller size. And we'll talk a little bit about that when we get to WordPress. But the problem, though, you might run into is that if you're going to upload these images straight from a camera, they tend to take a while to get to WordPress. Plus, they're going to take up room on your server. Again, because they're very large. If I right-click on one of these images and just get info about it, you'll see how big they are. This is 1.4 megabytes, which is a really large file when we're talking about the internet and uploading files and storing files on our server. So one thing you might want to do is either fix a photo in Photoshop and then make it smaller. And let me briefly just show you how something like that would be done. So if I open up an image in Photoshop, one of the things you need to think about and should know about if you're making websites is how to measure things. Oh, my Photoshop's almost over. So in this case, I have an image right here that I opened up in Photoshop, and it looks like a small image. I mean, it looks like it takes up, most of the screen, but it's not. And if you're looking in Photoshop, you'll notice it says 33.3% here. That's the actual zoom factor. So the actual photo is zoomed out. If I zoom in to the image and it's at 100%, this is the size it would be on a website. And as you can see, that would probably take up a lot of space there. So you could shrink it down on a website and everything, but in this case, when you're looking at an image in Photoshop and you're looking at it at 100%, zoom factor is the size of the original image compared to the pixels in the image to the screen size. If I want to make this smaller so that it's not taking up so much space on my server, the easiest way to do that inside of Photoshop is to look at the image size. And when we're measuring things inside Photoshop, we usually measure in what we call pixels. Pixels are the tiny dots. So if I zoom in real small, you'll see these big squares, right? Each one of these squares is called a pixel, and that pixel then is what the image is made out of. And so if I zoom out, you'll see that this has a lot of squares to it. So how many squares does it have? Well, if I go under image size inside of Photoshop, it'll show me this has 5,472 squares width by 3,684 height. And you'll see this image is 57.1 megabytes. And you say, well, didn't you just look at it on top of the desktop and it was only 4.1 megabytes? Well, the 4.1 megabyte file that I had on my desktop was a compressed version. When you open it in Photoshop, it's uncompressed, which means it's going to be bigger in here, so you don't need to really know that right now. But what the important thing is, you might want to shrink this image down so it doesn't take up so much space on your server when you are working inside of WordPress. So to do that, again, it was under image size. I got to this window, and I could, a normal size image that I would probably want on my website might be 600 width by 400. That sounds like a good size. That's probably about that's a pretty big size. But that's something. Maybe I'll make it 800 just to keep it little there. So that, something like that, if I shrink it down like that and I hit OK, it looks like it's tiny, but it's really not. Remember, if we look at it 100%, that's about the size it would be on my website right there, and that looks like a good size image for a thumbnail, that is, or something that somebody's looking at. So if I go and I save that file, and let me save it, and I might call it, this is flowers 2, I don't know, just giving it a name. Again, the formats that I have listed that you should read about would be the JPEG, the PNG. Those are the two that I would normally put on my website. JPEG is just fine. It's a good format for putting on your website, and I can save it. And then it's going to come up with a compression, and of course the more compression, the smaller the file, the less compression, the bigger the file. And so I'm going to give it 11 for right now. I hit OK. So I'm not really going to show too much Photoshop here. I just wanted to tell you that, when you take pictures, and again, I took pictures, and let me close Photoshop now. Again, these are photos that were taken straight from a Canon full screen, full image sensor camera. And if I double click on one here, you can just see this is the Andy Warhol Museum. You'll notice that these are very good quality images that are taken, and they're very large files. So JPEG's one format you want to put on there. The other thing I want you to do is I want you to have an animated GIF. And here's an animated GIF that I downloaded. I have a list of a website. If you want to look at it, you can just open a browser window. I'm just going to open up Safari for a moment here. And if I drag an animated GIF file that I found, and I'll show you how to download an animated GIF off the internet. If I drag it onto the desktop here, you'll notice you can see an animated GIF. And this is just made by somebody shot a video, and then they made it into an animated GIF. I could show you how to do that maybe in another video lesson. And then the other thing I want you to do is have why is this a JPEG? This should be a PNG. Let me see. This is a mistake file here. I don't know what this is. Oh, because I took a screen grab. That's why. What I want you to do is find a PNG. This is not a PNG because I took a screen grab, I believe, of the image. And I'll show you how to find a transparent PNG. And what a transparent PNG is when you find one like this, you'll see this checkerboard pattern right here. That just means that this is a transparent part of the image, so that whatever background you have or any color will come through this area. And so we'll learn something about what's called a transparent PNG. So before we get started inside of WordPress, I'm going to want you to find some photos. So I'll go over how to search for photos, and I took these photos, that's why I'm using them. I did steal some. I did steal the animated GIF, and I did steal the skyline. So let me show you how to find some images. And talking about images, probably the biggest challenge of any company or it is images, and that's sort of what I do mostly for the Zircon company I work for. So if we even go and I look at Zircon, you'll see we have a lot of images, like this image right here, but this image in the background is a stock image. We purchased this stock image, and then I took the photo of this product and photoshopped it into this image that you see right here on the screen. So again, mostly, for years, all these pictures you'll see, let's choose a product here, and any one of these products here, you'll see, this one doesn't have a lot of photos, but as you can see, the image of the products, I take a lot of time and effort to take these pictures and to make, as you can see here, this is a image, this sort of, the image of the product with the blue background is something that is made inside of Photoshop, right? So this is made in Photoshop. This is made in Photoshop. Again, these are photos that I took. This is made in Photoshop, where I took the photo of the image, photoshopped it on this tile background, and then cut out, and I photoshopped this pipe in there, and so on. So, you know, a lot of what you see online is images, and a lot of them are done in Photoshop. Again, this is in Photoshop. Well, this is a photo that I took, and then it is photoshopped with the screen inside here with a drop shadow, as you can see right along the edge there. So again, a lot of images are online. If you don't take your own photos, where can I find photos? Well, you know, there's two main sites that I kind of use. Of course, one of them is called Flickr, and Flickr.com is a good place to start. You don't need to sign up. You can just type in what you want. I'm going to type in Pittsburgh, because that is my topic. And then I can hit search. And again, you'll find some photos. But can I use these photos on my website? You know, what can I do? I have the rights to use them. Well, of course, not every photo you can use that you find online you can use. Of course, best would be to take your own photos. But in this case, how can I find images that I might be able to use? Well, probably the easiest way is to look at the license right here. So there is something called copyright, and you know, I'll list some information about copyrights and how to find legal things, and I talk a lot more about that in some other classes. But in this class right now, if you click on the license where it says any license right here, if I click on there, you'll notice there's something called the Creative Commons. I'll list some information about that later. But you'll see it says commercial use allowed, modification allowed, commercial use and modification allowed, unknown or no known copyright restrictions, the U.S. government works. So you can use U.S. government works on your website because your taxpayer money is already paid for that. So that might be a good place to start using images. The other one that you might also be using, could use for your website, might be commercial use and modification allowed, which means, of course, that you could use the image and then modify it later, which means that you can, you know, Photoshop it or use it. So if I click on there, you'll see I get some more images, and you know, you might be able to use these. And I use the word might because it's not necessarily you can use everything that you find here. You have to read the actual there's copyright information for each of the images. So I say, oh, I like this black and white one, or I like this one, and I want to use this one. If you click on it, it'll take you to the image. Then you'll notice over here there says some rights reserved right there, right? And if you click on that, it might give you some information. You are free to copy and redistribute the material in any medium or format, remix, transform, and build upon the material. So I can use this, okay? So, you know, this is the Creative Commons right there. So this person has put this image on screen. It says you can use this one in your project, so you put it on your website. Look at that. You might want to give them credit, you know, and you could put their name maybe next to the image and so on like that. So what I might do then, if I like this image and I want to use it, you'll notice there is a download button over here. That's this little arrow that points down right here in the lower right corner. So if you click on that, it'll give you different sizes. I think I was showing you inside of Photoshop that you can download the thing about pixels. So that's what you're looking at over here. This is the amount of pixels. And of course, if I use this really big one, 3888 by 2592, I mean, that's a great image and stuff, but that's going to be way overwhelming to put on my website because nobody's really going to see it at that. You know, WordPress is going to shrink it down and make it smaller on there. So I'm probably not going to use that. Maybe the large one, you know, but that's going to be kind of big, but it might still be good. Maybe somebody wants to zoom in. So I would say medium or large is what I'd want to download. And when you click on that, it's going to ask you where you want to save it. Most likely, by default, it's going to save it to your downloads folder. So if I hit OK, it goes to my downloads folder, and I do have a downloads folder here somewhere, and then I could drag it into my folder with the rest of my images that I am working on right here, and I might call this one Skyline. You can change the name of it. You should hopefully know how to change the name of files on your computer. So I have a photo. Skyline's already taken. Whoosh. How about color? Skyline. Okay, so after I did that, you'll notice I have it on my computer now, and I can import that right into WordPress and use it. Again, I used Flickr for that. Now, if you want, you can use other places. Another good place to find images, of course, would be Google. And inside Google, you can type in images that you want as well. And of course, you want to go to images first, and then type in what you want. Images is in the upper right corner there in Google. And then you can search. And on Google, it's a little bit different. They do have settings here and tools here. To get to tools is where you can adjust, the copyright information and stuff like that. So if you go to tools in Google image search, you'll see I have size, I have color, I have usage. Right here is where you might. You see where it says labeled for non-commercial reuse and modification, labeled for non-commercial, labeled for reuse. Label for reuse with modification. Most likely that one might be a good one, which means you can Photoshop it as well as use it. So if I click on that, we'll see what comes up. Again, you'll see some images that we might be able to use. The same thing. You probably, and this one's even from Flickr. You can see it right there. So depending upon what type of your image you want. Again, just like inside of Flickr, you want to click on it first, and then if you want to use this image here, you can click on it first, then you can right click on it here inside of there. And again, I'm using the Firefox browser, and if I save image as, it'll allow me to choose where I want to save it. And this is another, and I'm going to save it into my folder of Pittsburgh, of where I was saving all my images before. So again, that's another way that you can download an image and use it. Next thing I want you to do is one of the files I want you to find for this lesson today is also a PNG file that has a transparency so that you can see that. Now, I'm not going to make one in Photoshop for you, but I'm going to show you how to search here. So if I'm still in the Google images option, I'm going to type in Pittsburgh PNG. Okay, and the reason why I'm typing in PNG is I'm going to show you that option here. And this I thought had a PNG. Let's see. I was able to find some PNGs before that had a transparency to it. I don't know why these are not. Let me start again. Oh, that's because I used label for reuse and modification. I'm going to change this just so that I can teach you. There you go. So in this case, I typed in PNG and I got rid of the labeled for reuse, whatever that was called. And the reason why I did that was because I wanted to show you this checkerboard pattern. As you can see here, this second one here, after I type in Pittsburgh PNG, you'll notice it has this checkerboard pattern. What is this checkerboard pattern with this file format called a PNG is that it allows you to have this transparent area here. See these little squares? So again, that area will be transparent on your website, and so whatever background color you used on your website will come through this area. It's a great way to put on images that don't have to be exactly square on your website, right? Think about it. Let me just go here. Let me jump back here again, and if you notice these ones right here, notice how they're round on the website. They're round on the website, my product here. And the reason why is because they're PNGs and they're square. Every image on your website has to be in a square. Everything's on the internet is a square. Everything's square. But in order to see the background color come through, we save it as a PNG. So even though this is a square file that's probably about like this, the edges here around the outside are actually transparent. That's what this transparency is right here. See the transparency? So, having that transparency allows you to have things that are not square or on your website. So in order to save this one, because I'm going to want you to put this on your website as well, I'm going to right click and save image as again. And I can then go and put it, and hopefully this is, I swear I thought it was let me delete this file name here. See, it says JPEG, so it's not really a PNG. This is a mistake. Whoever made this is lying to us when they have that little transparency. I don't know. Let's try another one. I find that one not to be a real transparency. because it has to be a PNG. So and what I'm trying to say is when I was saving it, it had a JPEG extension on it, you know, the .jpg, which means it's not a PNG, so that won't be transparent. So they were lying to us here. Let's see if I can find another one that's actually, I don't know. Let's try the let's try this. Let's try the pirate logo here. There we go. See the checkerboard pattern here? Let's see if this one saves. So the checkerboard pattern that's right here. Let's save image as. Let's see what this one comes up. It says PNG. Let's see. It says SVG. Okay, it says PNG right there. So this is Pirates. If I can say Pirates. P-R-I. P-R-I. Yeah, spelling it wrong already. P-I-R. ATES, Pirates logo. Okay, so there we go. It is a PNG. Notice the transparency here. So just keep in mind, I want you to find that. So take some time to search and find yourself a real PNG and save that so you can put that in there. Okay, the next thing I want you to do and I know these are all, you're just learning all the different types of images that you can put on your page this week. The next one I want you to put on would be a animated GIF. So we're going to have PNG, anime GIF. I'll show you how to make a hero image inside of WordPress and a gallery. So when it says include a gallery in your assignment, you need to have at least 5 or 6 images. So download several images on a topic so that you can put them in a gallery. And then we're going to talk about a feature image when we get to their WordPress as well. So before we continue, let's just look at the animated GIF. So you've all seen animated GIFs before, especially inside of your Facebook feed and things like that. Basically, this, you know, it's a image format that's animated. And probably the best place to find is this Griffy website right here. Griffy has a whole bunch of, you know, a whole bunch of animated GIFs you can download and use. I don't know if you can pay for them or what. I really don't know. But let me just go. I'm going to type in Pittsburgh like that. Let's hit search. And then you'll see you have some images here. Most of these images are made from video frames. I tend to make my animated GIFs. I can make them up myself inside of Photoshop. Maybe I'll have again like another video that explains that. So let's say I like this one right here. If you click on it, they do have the ability to embed. So you can use that by embedding it directly from this website into your website. But I probably wouldn't do that. One of the problems is they may change it. And then here's a media, kind of a download thing. I don't really know about that. But I think probably the easiest way to download these from this website is to right-click on it. And again, if you right-click on an image, you can go to where it says Save Image As, and then I can go and put it into my, I'm going to call this water fountain. And I can save it right into my folder. Again, I tend to right-click. I'm not going to use some of these things over here. I'm going to right-click in there. Now, I don't know about the rights of these and how to use them. I think you might have to read that. I haven't looked at the copyright of this, but for today's lesson, you could just download any one and kind of violate people's copyright for today, just so that you can get, you know, get the assignment done. So again, so if you really wanted to be legal as well, of course, there's a bunch of stock. I buy a lot of photos at you know, photo stock places. The Getty has a lot of them. iPhoto stock. What is it? Is it iPhoto stock? Yeah, you know. So you know, this is where I buy photos here. Usually they cost about $10, maybe $12 for an image, and then I could use it in my videos or use it in the website or so on. So you know, buying images probably is the best way to go if you're a business. I mean, it's, you know, again, you can see right here, this image that you see back here, there's some wash machine and stuff. Again, I took this photo and he photoshopped it there. Again, that is done by using a photoshopped it, and I bought this, I think it was $12, this image back there, and then photoshopped this in there, and there you go. You know, so you know, that might be probably a better way to go is to do that. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking about the images right now, and hopefully you got a good start, and try and find some images. Let me pause this video, and then I'll make another one on how to include them into WordPress.